Hello, mate.
Hello, mate.
Thought I'd try something new.
Bloody hell.
Well, I said we need to do some more doing.
When you are doing that, you've literally took me unawares there.
Sorry, mate.
That's all right, mate.
So what are you doing? You're getting this V8 set up to face it then,
I am
is it?
indeed. So I bought it out for the liners. It's a bit of a lengthy job doing the liners on a V8, to be fair. And it's mainly because it's a bit of a triffid. The bottom's on a 45-degree angle, so you've got to use these jigs. So I'm just setting it up to face the block, which is not an easy task. So
no, it isn't.
We've got the jig here which bolts through into the mains, or where the mains would go, and that holds the block to these jigs. Then we've got to clamp the block, but we've got to use the height gauge to get the correct height and make sure that it's all correct.
So those jigs or that fixture is pretty good, but you've got to check it. And
pretty good, but it's a bit
potentially shim it a bit. And
yeah, it's a bit vague, mate. So I'm
but
just
it gets
trying
you in the right area.
It does
it's
indeed.
A nice thing.
So what I'm doing is I'm trying to just find somewhere where I can clamp that is sort of central to the centre of that jig.
Yeah, so you want to clamp it like more over that side, so it's pulling down in the middle of that sort of triangle bit in the middle.
So, yeah. So what we tend to do is I'll clamp the block, and by doing the clamps up, we'll sort of make it slide down the jig.
Yeah.
And then I'll probably clamp the jig as well.
Yeah. So it's almost like you've got flex in the stud that goes into the main.
You have to a certain extent.
Into the main
it's
thread,
not like,
so it sort of moves a bit.
Yeah, it's not like the ideal way of doing it. But
it's a bit different on the boring bar because you're clamping the deck of the block then, aren't you? So
exactly.
it goes parallel to that rather than the underside.
That's it, yeah. So it's just a case of really, it's like a Heath Robinson, isn't it, mate?
Yeah,
just
but it is a bit.
Just a case of doing it there's no real easy way of doing it.
No, it's sort
not
of
with
just
this
a bit
setup anyway.
Trial and error, isn't it? And
but that's like a lot of our setups in here, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it all works.
It does
at the
work.
End of the day. So basically what I do is when I push these liners in, we've got the top out, obviously at the top of the liner, which sits into the block. But we always leave them proud. So these are probably about 1/2 mil.
Yeah.
Proud-ish, a bit more than that, I would say.
Yeah, probably a little bit more. But
I've left 2 thou in the bores.
Right.
So
for honing.
we give them. I've got to get these dowels out, which is again not an easy task. And we just face it, so it eventually gives it a light lick over the top of the aluminium, cleans that up, and then we'll hone it.
Lovely.
Lovely jubbly, mate, isn't it?
Yeah. So you can use that jig on the hone as well.
That's right, yeah.
Keep yourself all parallel. Ideal, that.
So yeah, like you say, mate, we've got to do a lot more doing in 2025 rather than just chatting about doing.
Exactly, yeah.
Isn't it?
So now you can.
That's the good thing about the camera there. You've literally caught me unawares because you haven't had to ask me phone.
Nope.
Bang, and I've got to be alert now.
Give it a go anyway. See how this pans out, but.
See how it pans out.
So you're checking that with the vernier height gauge.
Just checking it, yeah. So check either side there and just make sure that the thing is not tipped like that, which it doesn't appear to be. And then, if I look there, it looks to be probably about 10 thou lower that side. So
right. So you've got a gap between the.
So you've got a gap
tip there
between
and
the tip
and the face.
And
you can obviously use feeler gauges and stuff to work out how big of a gap you got.
You can do.
If you need to do that.
So what I do is I'll put the height gauge. We don't ever put the height gauge on the liner because these liners could sit at very slightly different heights.
Yeah.
It's on the aluminium because that's where the finish face is. So what I do is I'll set the height gauge on the lowest part or the lowest end, and then I just do this up, mate.
You're doing that nut up, which
Do
is
this
pulling
nut
it down
up,
a bit more.
Should be pulling it down.
On its way to it, isn't it? But obviously that's going to bring that end up, so then you've got to check it all again.
That's right, yeah. So
Bit fiddly.
Bit fiddly, but we'll get there.
Yeah.
But that is what takes the time, isn't it?
It is.
Really?
Yeah. Leave that there for a minute then, yeah.
Two can play at that game, mate.
Two can play at that game.
Look at this.
Here we go.
Like a rabbit in the headlights.
Brilliant.
So with this new camera, we can literally just pick it up, start recording. Don't need to start sorting out the phone and all the rest of it.
Around.
No organising. Get right on with it, mate. And both of us today have been hit with the surprise recording, haven't we?
Film. I don't know what I've started. Not a good idea.
So what we doing, mate, here? This is the 1500...
Yeah, 1500 Transit.
Yeah.
Apparently is a Peugeot engine. I've just managed to order the big M bolts because our usual supplier had them on back order, so I managed to order them from Ford in the end.
Yeah.
I was just then I was double checking that I got the thrusts in the right way.
Right.
For peace of mind.
And you have.
Everybody's had the wake up in the middle of the night thinking, did I put the thrusts in the wrong way?
Nothing worse. Done it many a times, the old thrusts.
Yeah, so now I'm going to plaster gauge the mains.
Yeah.
And then once I've done that, so it's a big sort of, call it like a ladder set up for the
mains ladder.
So I'll put that on with no sealant or anything, torque it up and check the clearance.
Yeah.
Then I'll whip it back off and seal it all up, providing everything's all right. And
ideal, mate. So the mains ladder here is basically like an all-in-one thing. You can see the steel mains caps are integrated in this aluminium housing, so it's all sort of held in one rather than just having individual main caps.
Which I'm not so keen on.
No?
I mean, it's fine and it works, but I like that you can take one off and...
Yeah, I know what you mean, yeah. You're sort of relying, usually with this setup here, you're relying on everything being sort of true.
Yeah, you're relying on this face as well as the actual mains. You know, if there's a big sort of burr or something on here, it could lift off the mains and pinch the bearing or something like that.
That's it, yeah.
I just prefer it when they're individual. But
oh, that's good though, mate. At least we can crack on with this and get this one done pretty soon after. Well, not pretty soon after the new year, because you ain't going to be back pretty soon after the new year.
Pretty soon after a week after the new year.
But while we're over here, mate,
got your
discs. Got the discs now for the E30. So I'm pretty happy about that because I've been on edge really with these discs. It's been going on for months and months. There was some slight confusion because obviously the original brake kit that we ordered was 4-stud.
Oh yeah.
So just standard E30 pattern. Obviously it's I think it's a 330 rear kit and a 340 front.
Yes.
With the 6 pots on the front, 4 pots on the back.
And the front discs are thicker, aren't they?
That's it. But obviously when we ordered, the brake kit was one of the first things that we ordered. But since then we obviously changed our plans and decided to go 5-stud, which the original M3 was. So we're using the E36.
Is it E36 or Z3?
I don't know whether they're the same sort of thing.
I think they are very similar, but I think the sort of the hub offset is different for the Z3. I think it's E36 front arms, and then Z3 rear arms, because they're basically an E36, but a deeper hub.
But that's basically the good thing about BMW, isn't it? There's a lot of stuff that's interchangeable.
Very interchangeable.
Really. So that was the plan. So we could basically make it look, rather than go for the centre locks, which look cool, but it's a massive amount more cost.
A lot more
and
cost
at the end of the day,
less choice in wheels and stuff. So.
Yeah, and they're just a bolt-on hub on the 4-stud pattern. So we wanted to do it like the original M3. Obviously now we've got the wheels, which are over there. So we had to send the centres and the caliper brackets back. And they were going to change them for 5-stud, but there was some confusion.
Yeah, well, time passed.
And they sent us, rather than send us back what we sent them, which was the front and rear centres and front and rear brackets, they sent us a complete rear kit again.
Yeah.
So we were still short the fronts. So this has been going on, but we've got to the bottom of it. They've sent us now the front bells and the brackets there.
Yeah.
Happy days, mate.
Lovely.
Isn't it?
Ready to go on.
Ready to go.
When the car's ready to go. But
exactly. Yeah. Oh yeah. But that'll be. I would have thought towards the end of January, maybe February. Could be all in nice, bright orange paint, mate.
It'll be a busy year, isn't it? Next year.
It is going to be a busy year.
Loads on.
But while we're on the subject of the E30, obviously when we get this nice bright orange paint and we've left it to sort of go off properly, we are going to be probably PPFing the whole car. So most of the cars that I have, my Lambo, the van, even my missus's Mercedes, they're all done with that PPF covering. And for that we go to Tinting Express, which is a local
tinting. like
tinting.
window.
Says it in the name, doesn't it?
Do you call it like window treatments or something? Or?
Yeah, trimming. They do complete wraps of vehicles. They do all sorts there.
Yeah.
It's a two-man business, but they've always been really good to us, really helpful. And talk of the devil. The other day, I was on about mirroring out our windows, maybe in the front of the building. Part of the reason for that is for a bit of a deterrent for people just looking in. And rather than them just turn up and walk in, we're going to be locking the door from the inside, have a sort of a ring doorbell on there, mirror out the windows so they can't peer in. Make it a bit more private, mate, isn't it?
Yeah, it sounds harsh, but it's to allow us to have more solid, focused work and sort of carry on with what we're doing without... Because we do get people who come in, they sort of come in, they go, oh, is John about or is Lee about? And you end up sort of breaking up what you were doing.
This is it.
For and not a lot of reason, really. And
exactly. And for some time, we've had people just wandering in, walking around the workshop. Although we keep the barrier up in the office door there. People tend to just walk in. One, in a chat, which obviously one takes up time. Two, it's unsafe for them to be in the workshop. They shouldn't be in there anyway because of insurance, obviously now. So it's just a belt and brace. We're not trying to alienate people.
No, it's not an attack on anyone or
of course not. It's safety.
We're not annoyed at anybody. It's just it's a change that's happening for the better of
it is.
The
it's
work
safety and it's
done,
to make it
safety.
more efficient in here.
Yeah.
We need to be cracking on with work at the end of the day, concentrating on what we're doing. Last thing we need is someone coming in when you're trying to talk up the bottom end or do something fairly important.
When you're counting your bolts and you lose count and then you're doing like an angle or something, so you can't even go back and check it with a torque wrench.
Exactly.
And then they're yapping at you.
Yeah, so talk of the devil, we've got Sam from Tinting Express. That looks a little bit darker, mate. Looks nice. Let's go and have a little look outside. So, ain't made a great deal of difference inside. Let's go out here and get wet. That's mint. Look at that. All I can see is my pretty face.
Oh, cheers, mate.
Lovely. That's ideal, that.
Pucker, isn't it?
Lovely job, Lee.
If you turn the lights off as well, it'll be even darker again.
Oh, really? Yeah. Oh, that's perfect, mate. Look, compare it to the office in there, look. Lovely job. There's Sam's van, look, that's the company. And there's his phone number down there. So you've PPF'd most of my vehicles, mate, haven't you?
Pretty much, other than...
Most important one you've probably done is my missus's Mercedes.
Yeah, that's the important one. I don't think that's been put to use yet, though, is it?
What the Merc?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it does a bit.
No, the only one
pretty good stuff though.
The little van's the only one we haven't done.
The little vans, yeah, but John drives that, so it's a bit beyond PPF, mate. We need to put some arm around there, I reckon.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're going to be doing the BMW when we get that.
Yeah.
Obviously, we'll let the paint and the lacquer go off, and then
give it a month.
Pretty trick.
Take that time to build it anyway, won't it?
I was going to say, yeah.
Unless you bring it over as a rolling.
Probably looking at the end of spring for that, I reckon, aren't we?
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, it depends.
I like that, mate. As I say, not trying to alienate people, but just stop them from peering in. Just a bit of a deterrent, and to stop people just walking in with horrible cylinder heads and that.
Yeah.
Well done, mate.
Nice.
So, guys, recording myself. Isaac's not here. He's off on holiday now for about 3 weeks. So I am just taking this time, in my break mind, to assemble the discs, etc., the bells and discs for the E30. Very exciting. Look at that. He's a whopper, isn't he? So yeah, these comp brake kits had good and bad comments. Some people have used them, not liked them, but bear in mind it's going to be a light car, isn't it? It's going to be, 1,100 kilos, something like that, I would have thought. So you don't need much of a brake, and you've got 340s on the front, 330s on the rear. It's a big old brake kit, isn't it? So time will tell, guys, what these like, but they certainly look proper flash. Started to assemble everything, get everything ready. Got the brackets on there. I've got to cut those back plates out a bit by the looks of it. But the rear discs are up there, so just getting everything all ready to go for this E30, and I'm really excited, guys. So that's it. As far as the last video goes, the thumbnail and title, it was on, we had an email from the landlady. Now, what that was all about was, firstly, all the rubbish and stuff the sort of mess we'd made around the side. Secondly, she wanted to come in with the plans of the estate and the sort of boundary of what's ours, really. And it turns out that a couple of the bits which we thought that were ours on the boundary weren't actually ours. So fortunately, one of them is the wash bay. That didn't actually come up as ours. So she has very kindly gone away and she's going to adjust that and make that ours and the 2 spaces next to it. So that means we've got 5 car spaces and that wash bay there, which we obviously no longer use for washing. Also, the great news is she's given us the go-ahead to put a container in there. So we're going to be getting a 14 by 8 foot container, which is going to make a massive difference to basically all the stuff that we have to store in here, really. So that means we can have a nice clean floor. We're going to kit it out, light it up, obviously put an alarm on and all the rest of it. But that's going to be a great little extension of the workshop, really, guys. So that is fantastic. We've just had another delivery. Every day's Christmas in here, innit? Got the Rode mic to go on the new camera. The reason we've got this, obviously in here, we use these, don't we? But when we start to do track days and do some filming out and about with the car and stuff, we're going to be using one of these. People like DDE and that, they all use these. So that's going to be really handy, hopefully. So I should be giving that a little review and put it in the next video. But until then, guys, thank you very much for watching. I will be back probably tomorrow, maybe Monday, who knows. Have a great evening. Cheers, guys.